Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Minecraft tutorial. In this video we're going to be doing the interior for a medieval house. Now, if you didn't see my previous video, we built the exterior here, and in today's video we're going to be building an interior for it. So whether you have this build built in your Minecraft survival world, or whether you're just looking to improve your interior building, especially in the medieval style, this video is for you. And so if you are watching this just for tips and tricks on your interior designing, I will leave a timestamp where the decorating process actually begins. And before we begin, I just want to say that this build was inspired by B000100. He has a great tutorial for interior design. I definitely took a lot of tips and tricks from it, and so I just wanted to give credit to that before we begin the tutorial. So the first thing we're going to want to do is put in the floor plan. Now we're going to be using the white and blue terracotta, but the blue looks a bit more like a purple, and this is a popular medieval style. And so we're going to start off on the rightmost wall. So start by placing in the white terracotta and then just do alternating colors down along this right wall. And then when that's done, you're going to want to come out 2 more blocks here, and then you're going to want to place 1 diagonal block, and then we're going to be putting in another wall right here. And that is going to come out 6 blocks. Now once you're done that, we're going to start placing blocks in at the other side of the door. So you're going to want to put white terracotta. Now these two aren't alternating, but that's okay. And then we're going to continue placing alternating colors down the front wall. Alright, and when that's done, you're going to do the leftmost wall and the back wall, just finishing the pattern. So now we just have to divide up this middle space. You're going to want to come between the second and the third window, and you're going to want to come out 4 blocks starting with purple. And now you're going to want to build up all the walls 4 blocks high, making sure to leave spaces for the windows. And one part I just forgot to mention, in the front space right in front of the door, you're going to want to build up 2 extra pillars to section off the room. So now it's time for the floor. So for the foyer here and our living room, we're going to be putting in a jungle planks floor. So everywhere up to here, you're going to want to put jungle planks all on the bottom. And there we go. So once your jungle planks floor is done, we're going to come into this space. And now this is going to be the kitchen and then the area leading to upstairs. And the block that we're going to be using for the floor is furnaces. Now I understand this is going to be a bit hard on resources in survival, as you're going to need a lot of stone. So if you don't want to gather all those resources, you can do a cobblestone floor. It's going to have a similar effect, but I do think that the furnace floor adds a bit more detail. So you can see how the furnaces do look like tiles on a floor, but once again, if you're using cobblestone, that's perfectly fine. It'll still look great. So now it's time for the ceiling, and we're going to be using oak planks and stripped oak logs. So you're going to want to go above your pillars here and just run oak planks along the entire top part. So once the roof is on, you're going to be taking your oak stripped logs, and we're going to be going every other block here. So we're going to start over the doorway here, and you're just going to put in a stripped log, and then you're going to skip a space, and then you're going to put another row of stripped logs, and this is going to kind of create beams in the roof, and it just gives it a bit more texture and variety. So make sure that in each room you're skipping a space and then putting in the stripped logs. One note, you may notice that there are 3 stone brick blocks here, and that doesn't matter because we're going to be covering them up with furniture. And when that's all done, we can now start putting in the stairs and moving on to the second floor. So in the room behind the kitchen, you're going to want to clear out a 2x8 space. So for the stairs, we're going to be using spruce slabs. You're going to want to start by coming into the right corner here, putting a slab. And then we're just going to go up 1 block each time around in a circle, putting in slabs. So for the upstairs, we're going to keep it simple and just use the white terracotta. And we can start off the floor plan by closing off the staircase except for 1 gap here. And then you're going to skip 1 block and run a line of blocks all the way down the hall. So to finish the outline, we're going to start by filling in the outline of the wall there. And then we're going to come into this room, and you're going to go out 3 and then continue along the outline, just like that. And make sure that these 2 windows here are not covered by blocks. Alright, so now we are going to come out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks place a block there and there, and then you're going to punch out one block here for a door and one block here for a door. So now you can build up 4 blocks tall for all of the walling. Now you will notice that you are seeing stone brick here when you're coming up the staircase. Now that is okay, and we're not going to replace it because that is, first of all, the outside of the building. But second of all, this is kind of like an attic slash cellar, so it is okay to have that old feel. But we are going to be placing white terracotta just along this top layer there. Now that the walls are all completed, we're going to be using spruce planks for the roof. And you're just going to come along the top and place in spruce planks at the top. And finally, to finish off the upstairs, you may have noticed that we haven't put in a floor yet, and we're actually going to be using carpet. This gives it a more homey feel for an upstairs, and it's going to allow us to have more headspace. So you're going to want brown carpet and place it on all of the oak and stripped oak planks and logs. And once that's all done, we can actually start decorating each of our individual rooms. So when it comes to the interior design, you don't need to copy everything I do. I will be showing you what I do, but you may want to change things here and there, and that is totally okay. So we're going to start off in the foyer here, and we have a bit of a blank space. So I'm going to be putting in a painting. I'm going to want a 2x1 painting, and as you notice, there are a few items in my hotbar. These are items I'm going to be using most. It's going to be barrels for storage, some leaves, and some plants to bring our interior alive a bit. And a lot of these tips and tricks that I'm using are once again inspired by B000100, so I would recommend that you check out his channel for even more advice and ways that you can improve your builds. Now on the right hand side of the foyer, we're going to be placing in some barrels, and then we're going to be placing in a flower pot, and so that instantly allows us to have storage upon entry. So now we come into this room, and this is going to be our study, and so I want this to be functional for survival as well. So we're going to be putting in an enchantment table, things like an anvil if you want, you can put an ender chest, and we're going to make this a function. So coming into the study here, I can show you what I did. So I first started off by putting in some bookshelves, and that's to help levels with the enchantment table, but it also works aesthetically because this is a bit of a study slash office space. And then I went with some barrels up top and below here, as it does add some extra functionality as you have more storage space. And these lanterns look really good for medieval style builds. It's a great addition to the game that I think really benefits the building community, as it's allowed a lot more opportunities with lighting to be opened up. And now I put in some leaves, and now this might seem odd, but it does actually bring the house alive a bit, as I mentioned, and it really does work well if you put them in properly. And then of course we have the enchantment table in the middle of the room, and this kind of anchors the room. We have a centerpiece that immediately draws our eyes when we walk in. And then I also put an anvil here on a trapdoor. Now trapdoors work great for shelving because they're thin, they're not as chunky as like a slab or a single block, and you can put items on top. And then below we have an ender chest, just for that functionality if you are in survival Minecraft. So coming out, we still have a bit of a space here in the foyer. So we could put a painting, but I'm thinking I'm gonna put a little bit more shelving and maybe even some leaves up top here. And once again, this is something that you're just gonna have to play around with until you get the look that you're going for. But I think that should do it. So now coming into the kitchen, we're going to keep it fairly simple, but we're going to put down some blast furnaces for decoration and also functionality. Not to mention that if you did go for the furnaces for the floor, you have more furnaces than you'll probably ever need. And then up top, we're going to put in some more barrels, as they do really look like shelving, and then they're also very functional. And then I'm going to put in a hay bale. So the hay bale just adds a bit of a pop of color, and then we can put a lantern on top. So coming into the stairwell, we have a really big space that we have to do something with. And so I'm actually going to be using trapdoors again to put on some potted plants. But this time we're going to be putting bamboo in the potted plants. And this looks really good in pots, if you can fit it somewhere into your house. Now to finish off down here, I am going to put a painting on this wall here, but we're going to do a 2x1 painting again. And I think these are probably my favorite paintings, as they don't take up a huge amount of space, but they do kind of fill in any empty spaces in your walls. And we're just going to be putting down some lanterns. We're actually just going to hang it from the corner because we do need that light. So coming up the stairs, we have this first empty space in our attic. And so I'm actually going to be putting in some cobwebs. I think for a medieval upstairs, cobwebs work great. If you put them sparingly, you don't want to overdo it, as they are a busy texture. But if you can put them in just scattered throughout the build, they do look really good. And so we're going to also put a painting on this wall, probably a 2x1 painting, and that will do it for this space. Now, coming along, we are just going to put some lanterns along the roof just to light up our space here, and then we come into this open area. So this is going to act as a bit of a storage room here. So we're going to put some barrels here, and if you want to put some potted plants or some cobwebs just to add a bit of detail, and then also some hay bales. We're just going to fill this space up because this is like our cellar, our storage room where we'd keep our food. And so that should do it for this space. And then we have the 2 bedrooms. So this first room here is really small. So there's not much we can do but put a bed. So we are going to break the carpet here, and you will see a bit of oak under there, but that's okay. And then we're also just going to put in a lantern, and that's actually going to do it for this room. But then coming into the bigger room here, we have a little bit more space to work with. So we'll start off by putting in a bed, putting in a barrel for a bit of storage, have a lantern on top. We'll put in some leaves here to kind of hide. There is a bit of stretch of spruce wood here that we can't really do anything about, but we can put some leaves there, maybe some extra storage up top here. And if we want, we could also add in some cobwebs, but once again, use these sparingly. You don't want to go overboard with these, but if you do put a few here and there, that is gonna add a bit of detail. And then lastly, as we're coming out, we do have a bit of a bare stretch of wall, so I'm actually going to be putting a 2x2 painting here, as it is a bit of a bigger space and it will fit the area nicely. And so that's actually going to do it for the interior. So I thought we would just do a bit of a walk around and talk about what we've seen so far, but that is pretty much it. And remember, if there are changes that you do want to make, you don't have to follow what I did exactly. You can change things around, make it your own. But to recap, we start off in our foyer and we have a bit of storage, a plant, and it's just a welcoming space as we come in. And now we go into our study here. So this is functional, but also aesthetically pleasing. So we have our bookcases here for enchantment table. We have lots of storage, we have an anvil, and then we also have the ender chest. And once again, these trapdoors are a great way to do shelving that doesn't take up a lot of room. But then as we come into the kitchen here, you can see we have our blast furnaces, we have our hay bales, and then we have a bit of storage up top. And this is just keeping it simple, but it is also adding a bit of a pop of color. And then as we come into the hallway here leading to our staircase, we have the trapdoors once again with the bamboo. Now the bamboo in a pot is a great feature for any interior design, and this does just add once again a pop of color. So then we can come up to our staircase here, which are just these spruce wood slabs, keeping it simple. And then we come to our upstairs. So coming upstairs, we have this open space here, which we put a painting and a cobweb, and then we just use carpet for the floor, and this just gives it a soft feel, but also allowing lots of headspace. So we have painting for this wide space, and we can afford to do a 2x2 because this is a much bigger space, and we don't need to clutter it with multiple paintings. So we have our first bedroom, which is just small with a simple lantern and bed, and then coming through, we have our storage space. So this has some hay bales, some barrels, and then some cobwebs here, and this just acts as like a cellar where you'd keep your food. And then finally we have the bigger bedroom, and we added some leaves for a pop of color and to bring just the house alive a bit, as I have mentioned. And then we have some barrels, we have a lantern, and then we have our bed. And that's going to be it. So if you did enjoy the video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, and I hope you did learn something new. And if you really enjoyed the video, then make sure to subscribe, but I'll catch you in the next one.